Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Deeply Rooted Business Podcast. We are here with someone who, gosh, we have been at a retreat together. We have been in a mastermind for 12 plus months together, and someone that I have just always considered the top of the game when it comes to Pinterest. I'm so thrilled that she has joined us on this so we can kind of tap into her brain. Hello, Heather.
Nice to see you again, Rachel. Jess, very good to meet you. Thank you for having me.
We are going to talk about all things Pinterest, but do you want to just give us your philosophy on marketing and Pinterest and like the overall how it fits into the ecosystem? Because I want to set the stage there because first of all, you're one of the people that I know can give email the praise that it needs because it works so well with Pinterest. So obviously,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of that side. And although this may be a more marketing based question or marketing based episode, Jess will come and chime in with some operations. But let's start with your philosophy. Give me your Pinterest kind of ideas.
Yeah, so the philosophy for me behind Pinterest is really, it's very simple. It should be a background operation in your business. So it's not something you're going to stranglehold. You don't have to get dressed and put makeup on every single time you're going to make a Pinterest pin, unlike other platforms that we have to do that for. It's not something that you're actively always working on. It can very much be something that is just running in the background of your business. So, how I like to think about Pinterest is just a place to park your content. You can regularly be putting pins over there. You can do that in your pajamas, watching a movie, just hanging out in your business, working on those marketing components that you need to be working on. But it's not something that, in my mind, deserves a place on your calendar where you have to put makeup on or be thinking about what scripts to write and what B-roll I need to film. It's nothing like that. So that's kind of the philosophy for me behind Pinterest is it's a parking lot for your content and it's very much a background operation in your business.
Yeah. And I think for people who are not familiar with Heather, you're on
Mhm.
YouTube, you are all over Instagram. You really do have that fluidity across the platforms. And Pinterest does its thing on the back end and allows you that freedom. Can you share a little bit more about how the process was to like build up that type of system? And like Jess can totally nerd out about systems here because I
Mhm.
know you're super organized too.
Pinterest and YouTube is probably the most organized parts of my marketing distribution operations in my business. The Pinterest piece, it's so well organized for myself and for clients that I always know what content needs to be promoted when I made pins for it last. We store pin titles and descriptions to reuse again. A lot of people ask that question, like, can I use them again? I don't know how deep we're going to get into all of that today, but all of those little tiny pieces, including like a full keyword plan and all the Pinterest trends we want to target, all of that is organized really nicely into just a simple spreadsheet. And I have a few tabs in the sheet for like storing all of this information. But when it comes to creating content for Pinterest and setting that system up, because Jess is like the systems queen here, is first starting with what assets do you even have in your business? And I consider assets to be YouTube videos, blog posts, podcast episodes, my landing pages for lead magnets. Like all of those things are assets for my business and they run my business when I'm not actively online. All of those entry points into my business and our clients' businesses are stored in a spreadsheet. So we have a spreadsheet tab for all the blog posts, podcast episodes, etc. We have a sheet for all the funnels, all the funnel documentation that we have for entry points and exit points. So all the products that we have to promote, all of those get a tab. So I always know what we have in the business to promote. And then those get plugged into a simple sheet every month that we make a copy of. It's a template. And we start plugging in the things that we need to make pins for. If a client has a new launch coming up in 3 months, then we're runwaying content for that launch on Pinterest. If they have new products that just launched in their store, then those go to the end of the list for the current month if we have space, or the beginning of the next month if we don't have space. So that's how I run the actual tactical planning of content. I don't know if that actually answered your question because my ADHD brain just like fired.
Well, I'm there too. Don't worry. Jess, any operations questions you have, for, Heather, because I can keep going and going and going, but I don't want to monopolize the call.
Yeah, first of all, I love that what I'm hearing is this can create a lot of sustainability and take some of the burden of your business off your back because it's working when you don't want to work, which is something I love. Rachel knows I'm all into AI and automations and how much I can make robots do and work for me while I'm not working for me. So I'm like nerding out about this. But I guess one of the follow-up questions I did have is there some sort of cadence as far as like you're supposed to be posting this many times, or can you take some time off and come back and not be affected? Or what would you recommend as far as like fitting this into your business routines?
Yeah, so fitting it into your business routine, that's a really great way to put it. So I always suggest doing at least one pin a day. Most people can do one pin a day for a month. And if you can start with one pin a day, then you can build up from there. And a lot of what I've been teaching lately is when you sit down to make that one pin for that one link on your website, that one blog post, instead of just making one, make three. And you can simply use the same keywords, slightly different images, and schedule all three. And now you have three versions of that going out. You can use the same title, same description, and schedule all three. Maybe they're 3 months apart or 3 weeks apart. That part of the nuance I care less about. I just want you putting your content out there. And if you can start with one pin a day, it's definitely going to build over time. If you can try not to take breaks, you're obviously going to see more success quicker because you're publishing more content. But if you do need to take a break, that's the great part about Pinterest is the discoverability. So for some reason you end up in a launch situation and it goes a little haywire and you forget to do your Pinterest for a few weeks. It's not like Instagram, for example, where no one sees your content after that because they stopped engaging with you. It's actually not how the search discovery or the discovery platform works on Pinterest. The algorithm works. So you have that kind of search engine aspect going. So then again, if you do forget, it's not the end of the world.
Because I feel like we just got punished by TikTok back because we like missed a few days with TikTok and we're back in 200 day view, 200 view jail.
You're in,
Yeah.
But I love that you can come back to it.
Yeah. And I don't encourage you to look at our Pinterest for the podcast because it is so bad. But we're getting there. We're getting there. I also find it really fascinating, kind of like what you're talking about, the lifespan of your content and how it can live a lot longer. I think when I first started Gal, I had made a pin and it was, I think after I took one of your master classes or you had done something that I had joined and I was so dedicated into Pinterest. And had you been about like a year plus ago, I posted something. It was like a grow your list freebie. That is still my highest clicked, most found piece. I don't even have that freebie anymore, and I probably should take it off or at least switch that redirect. But I think that's the most fascinating part about this is that your content continues to like work and work and work after the fact, which is something you don't get on that social media side because the social media side, 24 hours long gone, kind of dead after you post it kind of thing. But tell me, we do not have a Pinterest strategy. Kind of give me that elevator pitch of what is the priority in getting it kind of structured in a way that can breathe life into our content. Because content right now, especially for the podcast, we are just posting and getting it out. Jess is big into the YouTube space and she's like nerds out on that all the time. But I really see so much value when it comes to Pinterest because when I do put effort into it and repin on my business account and put it into these shared communities and shared boards, we get the views, we get the clicks, and it like does work. And so I'm just so fascinated by what you would tell somebody in that space of like that nudge to go a little bit harder with their Pinterest strategy.
So number one, I don't want you to get overwhelmed with how many pins to create, how many boards should I pin it to, all of the little things that most people get hung up on. So I just want you to worry about first starting with a keyword plan. And if you can start with your pillars of content in your business. So for me, my pillars of content are organic Pinterest marketing, paid Pinterest marketing, automation, workflows, and graphic design. So automation being tools mainly, and then the workflows being like the Pinterest system I kind of explained to you guys earlier with the spreadsheet. Those are my 5 pillars. And within those 5 pillars, I have tons of content, YouTube videos, blog posts, products to sell, freebies I can give away. Within each of those pillars, you're going to find a set of keywords that you want to focus on. And that first set of keywords can be as short as 10. Just take your most popular content or your pillar content that works the best for your business. We probably all have foundational content that converts the best to our emails or converts the best to sales. Whatever those pieces of content are, I want you to start with them first and start that initial list of keywords. 10 is great. And I want you to just rotate through that list of keywords 2 or 3 times, making a set of pins each time you use them. So this could be 10 pins per post, or it can be 1 pin per post. It's whatever you have the time and the effort to be able to output. The output I'm less concerned with in the beginning. I'm more concerned with the proper usage of your keywords. So once you have your keyword list, and you're then off to creating your Pinterest boards for those pillars. So for example, in my business, I would create boards for organic Pinterest marketing, promoted pins on Pinterest, or an alternative keyword could be Pinterest ads, Pinterest workflows, Pinterest schedulers. Those are 4 boards I could create, one for each pillar. And then those blog posts or YouTube videos within those pillars are going to go on the appropriate board. So if it's a blog post about Tailwind, it goes on the Pinterest scheduler board. If it's a blog post about Pinterest ads, it goes on the Pinterest ad board. Then each of those boards gets populated on the profile. You're taking a lot of effort in the beginning to do proper keyword research for those titles and descriptions. That list of keywords is going to be used across your profile for boards and on your pins. So you don't need to do keyword research for both pins and boards. It's all the same. And then once you start creating your pins, again, that list of keywords that you found for each pillar, for each blog post or freebie, whatever it is, you are going to make a pin title and write a pin description. Your pin titles are 100 characters in length, and your pin descriptions, depending on the scheduler and what Pinterest has given you, is 500 characters in length. We'll default to that character length for this conversation. So I want you to write a 500 character description using 5 keywords. So you found 10, you can write 2 descriptions with each set of 5 and then rotate through those descriptions depending on the content. And you're going to make pins with those. Now, we haven't talked about text overlay. Text overlay is the text you put on the pin in Canva. You're going to type that out. Your text overlay and your title as you get started can be the same. And as you grow in your Pinterest skill, you can differentiate those. But in the beginning, it can just be the same. So you're writing a pin title, you're reusing it on your text overlay, you're writing a pin description, and then you're taking all of that information and you're going to schedule that pin to Pinterest. And you can just use the native scheduler to start. Or if you use Canva and you want to go through that process of scheduling to Canva, you can. It's not my favorite. They're a partner. They're API approved. You can definitely do it. For the ease of scheduling, I would just say use the native scheduler and then schedule those pins. And that's really the beginning process.
I can literally see Jess's like wheels turning on how to automate that.
Yeah. Like, and as soon as I get off this call, I'm building me a Pinterest room for our podcast. I had follow-up questions though too. As I'm thinking through this, I'm like, wow, this sounds like a lot of work. Yes, I can figure out how to automate it. But if you're just starting, and Rachel and I love to approach things from starting, stretching, and scaling your business. What do you need to have in place first before you would go? If someone would come to you and they're like, I want a Pinterest, and you're like, no, you're not ready yet. You need this, this, and this first. What would you say that they need first, or they're kind of just like wasting their time?
So it depends on who I'm talking to. If you're an Etsy seller, you obviously don't need a website. You just need to have your Etsy products listed on Etsy. If you're a Shopify seller, then you need to claim your Shopify store by installing the Shopify app. But if you're like Rachel and myself, just I don't know you as well. This is our first time meeting today, but I know Rachel has Gal Marketing, the website. I think you rebranded at some point, right? But I have heatherfarris.com. So I'm built on WordPress. I just need to claim my website and then create my boards, apply a Pinterest banner, which we haven't talked about branding your Pinterest profile or anything like that. But getting those little pieces of branding set up, so it's your pin templates, creating a Pinterest banner, and then optional are board covers, and then just getting your boards created. You could have 1 piece of content or 10. You just need to get started. So even if you have 1 piece of content that you want to promote to get started with, next week, theoretically, if you publish every week, you're going to have 2, and that's going to grow over time. So a lot of people will ask, like, what do I need to get started? Or how many posts do I need to get started? Or products? 1, I don't want you to wait, because the longer you wait, the longer you put it off, the longer, what Rachel said earlier, that legacy content is going to have time to grow.
Is there any types of business where Pinterest won't work? For me, my brain is going, are business owners really searching on Pinterest to find what I do, system and automation, or like I'm on YouTube, so I guess Pinterest is more like a billboard for my YouTube content.
So Pinterest is a search and discovery platforms. There's 24 established categories on Pinterest. And I could get you guys all 24 for the show notes.
Thank
Business
you.
is not one of the established categories yet, but business fits in other places, like within education or in design. Within design, there's a subcategory or sub niche called business and advertising design, so that it fits in places that you wouldn't quite expect. And some of my most popular posts, some of the ones that have gotten me the most traffic over the years, are about tools that I use, like ClickUp or Trello, or my YouTube blog post that I wrote about a course I took years ago on my travel blog. That one gets tons of traffic and repins. So you would be surprised. The number one question I would pose to the listeners is if they're at all wondering if Pinterest is a fit for their business, is to just quickly jot down the things that they sell in their business or the most asked questions that they get and just go search those on Pinterest. If your competitors' content's coming up, chances are you need to be there too.
Fact. When I have gone through and kind of done research, especially using the methodology from your past masterclass that I had access to, I was like, oh my gosh, there is so many of my actual competitors killing it on here. And I was a little FOMO, right? Because I was like, man, it's obviously working. They're showing up within the first 20 results. And I'm like, goals. But I'm curious, is there any businesses that like it won't work for? Anything that's too niche, too general, anything that you would kind of be like, probably not the best strategy for you?
So there are some that it won't work for simply because Pinterest says that it won't work for them. And those are things that are like adult entertainment, any nudity, anything that's overly negative. They want it to be a positive place. So anything that's like firearms and fireworks, alcohol, there are recipes and stuff for alcohol. There are alcohol brands that do use the platform for awareness, not conversion. Businesses that it won't work for, I've seen for a fact it not work for, like CBD brands, because that falls within those restricted categories of CBD and marijuana. You definitely want to take a look if you're wondering if you are in the no-no list at Pinterest TOS, because it's listed there. But I have had some businesses that it hasn't worked as well for simply because they don't create a lot of content. So my business, it works really well for because I have a full YouTube channel library full of content that's free that people are searching for. If you're only creating sales content, but you're not creating top of funnel awareness style content or consideration, it may not work as well for you because there are going to be fewer people that are ready to buy when they see your pins. So that's my number one piece of advice for anyone just in general is especially getting on Pinterest. You really do need that top of funnel and middle of funnel content. It can't just be sales.
I think that speaks of volumes of just having a not singular platform marketing strategy in general. Cause we talk about this a lot in here is don't put all of your eggs in one basket. The people that are social only and then they freak when something changes in the algorithm and they're like, it doesn't work. You need to diversify your lead generation. You speak about like the top, middle, and bottom of the funnel. Like to me, because I've spent so much time in marketing, that's so basic to have your business broken out like that. But for others, it's really not. Like for people who are just joining the online space within the last like 1 to 2 years or 2+, and for context of how we really break down the 3 stages of business, like the starting is that good marketing habits, baby entrepreneur, they're sitting there probably in years 0 to 1 and taking in as much as they possibly can from all of the loud voices in the online space. And then you have that stretching person who's really solidified their offer suite. They have a little bit more of that understanding of what's working, what's not working, and then they're looking to expand. And then that scaling people, they're like the ones that are hiring and saying, yes, let's take this to the next level. They have validated this, validated that. But I really find that those baby business owners in that beginning stage don't quite understand how everything really does fit into the ecosystem that is your marketing. And it's really one of those things that like they say email marketing is dead, it's dead, da, 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 blah, all of that stuff. But I really do feel like Pinterest kind of plays a very similar role in that, where it's not algorithm based. Is that correct? Or am I making that assumption?
There's 2 sides of the algorithm, and I can explain that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have a little bit more control over it in that sense. And then it really plays well with how everything else is connected into your business. But I'll let you expand a little bit more on that because I find it so fascinating. It really is just like an accelerator in the ecosystem rather than just a dominant singular player.
So, just briefly back to your point and back to that of Jess of the question of who might this not work for. It's not really what types of businesses it'll work for. It's how you define what's going to work for you. So, do you want it to just be an awareness platform for your brand where people just find your content there, become aware of you? Because that's more of how I use it personally. I do publish my products to Pinterest in the form of pins. People do come through there and buy them. But I also, probably 80% of my content that I put over there is free because I know if somebody watches my YouTube video or gets on my email list and reads my emails, I will sell them into my membership or into a one-off digital product. So I think going back to the question of will it work for me really depends on how you approach the platform, what your initial strategy is, and what your goals are. So your second question or the follow-up after that. So how I use it as like in the overall marketing distribution channel, it's one of many in my business. And I do have multiple. And you mentioned that earlier. I'm on YouTube. I have a blog. I'm on podcasts like these. So then I'm being seen there. We've got social media going, although that's lacking, to be honest. It's established. There's past content there, but I don't know that people are discovering me particularly on socials. But really, how it fits into the whole ecosystem and how it can for anyone listening is that discovery piece and that algorithm that you were asking about. It can be that search and discovery piece for you. So if you are creating that type of funnel style content and people are looking for how to use Pinterest for teachers, pay teachers, which is one of my top pins right now, if they go to Pinterest and they search that, then my pin is going to come up. Multiple variations of that pin is going to come up, and they are likely to click on one of them and read the blog post, maybe join the email list, and then they're going to get into my funnel and my ecosystem. Now, not everyone that reads my blog post is signing up for the email list or watches the videos signing up for the email list, right? But it's a touch point. And then once they see one of my pins, and this is where the whole algorithm conversation starts, once they see one of my pins and they engage with one, that's a signal to Pinterest they're interested in this content. So if there's an initial touch point of them clicking on one of my pins and going to my website, that tells Pinterest this is interesting for Heather. She wants to see more of this. So then they're going to start to serve more of my content to that user. And it only amplifies from there when they send more signals on your pins to Pinterest. So if they save your pin, if they send your pin to a friend, if they click on more than one of your pins, if they follow you, all of those signals to Pinterest tells the platform they want to see more of your content. They don't have to follow you to see your content, but if they follow you, they're obviously going to see more. But the more touch points, the more clicks, the more saves, the more visits to your website, the more Pinterest is going to show you that content. So that's where the discovery side of the platform comes in, because there's search and discovery. And then the search side is when someone searches something like how to use email marketing, how to use Flowdesk, and then Rachel's pins come up.
I had no idea that that's how it worked. Like, not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
I know this is an annoying question that like all of our clients, how long to see results? If I start pinning, when can I expect to see? And I know it's going to probably be on quality of what I'm posting and how good I did my keyword research. Am I going to be in like 200? TikTok obviously has 200-day view jail for at least a month. You've got to be posting consistently before they get you out of it. We know we've been there. But is there anything like that on Pinterest?
It's so nuanced, to be honest. Like, it's so nuanced. It really just depends. I had a client that in 6 months, we took her from 0 to 1 million views and 400 to 500 outbound clicks a month. I was obviously doing all the management for that account. We were posting 4 to 5 times a day. The majority of her content was actually products, but we were using Pinterest trends. So it's going to vary based on niche. If you're watching any content on YouTube and people are like, you can get 10 million monthly views, the first thing I want you to put in your mind is what niche are they in? Because if you're in home decor, fashion, food, you're going to grow way faster because of the amount of people looking for those things. Whereas you might be stuck in 100,000 view jail like myself. I don't consider it jail. For Pinterest marketing, I have a small amount of views, but I'm also not using it for conversion. It's for awareness and consideration for me. So again, going back to your goal, But to answer your question, most people see 9 to 12 months consistently pinning before they start to see considerable amounts of views and outbound clicks. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's very much in the same category as Google SEO. That's why I started this conversation out with my philosophy being it's a background app that just runs in the background. And you're just consistently, when you create a new piece of content, you're publishing a pin. And if you can consistently do that over time and just not focus on your analytics for at least 90 days, just don't look at them. You'll be a lot happier and you'll build the consistency in your routine and your marketing distribution on Pinterest, and you're less likely to burn out and throw the platform in the garbage.
Yeah. Build good marketing habits.
Comparison to Google SEO, because I've seen that where my clients will have a post from 4 years ago that's driving 75% of their traffic. And it's great because now they don't have to rely on Instagram as much, but it does take a while to put in that effort to be able to get those posts.
Yeah. To give you an example, to give you some context, I have a client, I'm going to pull up her analytics sheet right now. I have a client, she's in the party space. She does party planning and stuff like that. I'm just looking at January of this year. She saw 66 sessions from Facebook, 133 from Instagram, and 1,200 from Pinterest. Now, she's got over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and she still only saw 133 visits to her website. So it's definitely apples to oranges in platform comparison. A lot of people will come at Pinterest the same way that they come at their Instagram strategy or the TikTok strategy. They're not the same. People on TikTok want to see you dancing to a new trend or whatever. People on Pinterest want to know how you're making the smoothie that's in your video that you're dancing to. They want the recipe. They don't want to be entertained.
Yeah. We talk so much about lead sources and working smarter and not harder. And I think that when you have that data, and like you said, ignore the data when you're first starting. But when you're established in your strategy and you're working and working and working, you can reflect back, whether it's quarterly planning or annual planning, and say, these are my traffic sources that have actually given something. And you see that social's maybe not doing what it's supposed to be doing, or Pinterest is carrying a heavier load kind of thing. It really does put into perspective your marketing efforts. And we're all about not just doing things just because you should do things. Like everybody does the social media because they think they need to be on there for a presence. Everything has its place in there. And when you have that data to back it up, like it really is a little eye-opening, right? Where you can spend your time. And if you can get all those pins scheduled at the beginning of the month and allow it to work in the background and then get into your system of content creation and build that into your schedule, like if that alone, like your client example, doesn't give enough push to someone, it's really just so eye-opening. Like I love, love, love that you gave that client example.
Yeah. I'm like, so we'll be adding Pinterest to the podcast.
If you have a marketing VA or something like in your business of prioritizing where you hire and spending money on maybe implementing Pinterest, I would look at, obviously my YouTube channel is a great masterclass. I just give everything away for free because I know that people are going to benefit, get results, and then they're going to come buy from me. So that's my business philosophy, is just give it away. So you could always start there, and a marketing VA could just start watching some videos. Obviously, look at the most recent ones, like within the year or within last year. You don't need to hire right away. Like, this is not something you need to spend $1,000 on in a course. There are so many more affordable options in the way of learning how to do Pinterest. But if it's something that you want to add to your docket for the year, yesterday was the best time to plant a tree, but today's good too, right? So just get started and just start seeding your content in so it can get rooted in, and eventually it'll become legacy content. And then just run a simple workflow like what I have outlined in a lot of my trainings. I'm a month ahead on everything. We're doing July content right now. This week, we start July content for all our clients. So this week, we're doing all the planning and the creation of pins. Next week, those go in for review to clients. And then the following week, they start getting scheduled. And then we start that all over again. And I would encourage you, and I'm sure you guys talk about this a lot, to batch things. So do all your keyword planning, and then do all your copywriting, and then do all your image creation, and then do all your scheduling, because then you're not task switching and it's not going to take you as long. It only takes me about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, depending on the client, to schedule Pinterest pins for them. And I just watch a movie while I do it.
Love that. I feel like this episode has just been a masterclass. I'm gonna have to re-listen to it and totally nerd out even more because I can see Jess writing, and I'm sure in our quarterly planning or our planning for next season, she's gonna say, add Pinterest to the strategy. So I know we've talked a lot about your YouTube channel and all of that, but can you tell us where people can find you, if you have any fun resources that you can share? And then if they're just ready to hand this off, how can they hire you?
Yeah, so everything for me can be found at heatherfarris.com. It's Farris. And there's the DIY path or the done for you path. So it's right there on the homepage if you want to hire my team to help out. The strategy guide, I will give you guys, you can link it in the description, is my most downloaded freebie ever. I've had tens of thousands of people download that thing, and I keep it completely up to date. I recently added a worksheet and a video for the 4 steps to create a Pinterest strategy to it as well. So grab that free strategy guide if you're wondering like how to create your Pinterest strategy. Other than that, just visit me, heatherfarris.com. I've got the blog and the YouTube channel. It's all linked. You'll find it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Jess, do you have any final words before we wrap up?
No, thank you. We're going to be doing a Pinterest strategy in our next podcast planning call. So
I know we
down.
are. Awesome. Until next time, we are
We're
rooting for you.
Hey, we did it.